Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the village of Shorewood in Clearwater County. And in the previous episode, we spent some time upgrading some things in the city, such as building this massive furniture factory, building this neighborhood along the river, which apparently has burned after I loaded, and building a Dollar General. And there were a few things that you mentioned in the comments that I want to fix, but I want to talk first about what we're going to do this episode. So we're going to be building lots of highway commercial type uses. So think of gas stations and motels, things of that nature that I think that the region as a whole is missing, and this particular community is going to fulfill that need. We have a major employer here, and you can imagine with this type of user, there could be people coming in to tour this facility, and there would be a need for places to stay. In addition, even though Ashland is the main economic driver of the region right now, there still are reasons why this is an attractive place for a hotel, such as the sweeping shoreline views that you get pretty much everywhere. So we are going to begin by fixing a couple of things that I made small mistakes in the previous episode. First and foremost, it's difficult to see now, but there are trees growing out of these roads. So I'm going to go through, turn Anarchy on. I used Picker to select this road, and now I can just go down and upgrade, and it will delete these. The other option would be to go ahead and delete the trees. I very well might go through this entire build, and for the sake of FPS, actually remove all of the trees that are underneath these roads. But for the time being, I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to do that on camera. That's not the most thrilling viewing experience. So that's something I will reserve for a free Saturday evening or something like that. So we've got that taken care of. Another thing that was mentioned in the comments was that this Dollar General has way too much parking. So I went and I looked at a ton of Dollar Generals. And you know what? You're right. I think it shows my lack of experience with Dollar General. Truthfully, there's not many of them in my region. So as a result, I am not well versed in their parking situation. But no worries. I am a person that's willing to do his research and get this figured out. So you might be looking at this going, did you not hear us? I said there wasn't that much parking at Dollar General. I heard you. So it's not that I'm not listening. It's that we're going to take this in another direction to get this working right. So what we're going to do is actually add a mall onto here. A small strip mall, nothing extravagant, just something that'll be a small economic driver in this area. So King Leno has a bunch of really wonderful mall assets, and I believe it's the River Park Mall. So when you're building this, there's a couple of things. So they have these empty buildings, which you could put any decal on that you want. And then there are other buildings that you could pull up yourself. So I'm going to eliminate the vanilla assets, and we will go only to Rico. And now that'll filter out to just these River Park assets. So we'll start out with Estrada's Mexican Food. We'll put that on the corner. And I should mention, I have a new mod in here. So this was built by a member, by a patron. It is called Eminent Domain. And I mention this because it's going to become a thing. It's an excellent mod. But you can see that as I click this building, it calculates the land area. And from that land area, comes up with an eminent domain factor. So if I were to delete this building after we get past that time period where it gives me a portion of the money back for it, it would cost me $26,624 to delete. So I like this mod because it makes me be a little bit more conscientious with my decision making. So I really appreciate that this mod was put together. I would highly recommend you check it out. A link to this mod will be in the mod and asset pack for this episode, along with the Riverside assets that you're taking a look at right now. So let's get back to placing some of these assets. I noticed that there's parking here. We're gonna resolve that. That's not gonna work. but I picked up a couple. I didn't grab everything in this pack because I wanted it to fit in this area. So I got a liquor store. I got Estrada's Mexican Food. We got a GameStop. And then we got some empty mall pieces. So we'll add in some empty storefronts. GameStop. A Subway. We have a Hallmark store. That might also fit well, but we don't have enough space. This is in the wrong direction. And then we have our end caps. So I'm going to place an end cap there, and I believe that we have a Pizza Hut too. There we go. All right, that is looking good. The only thing I'm not loving is how washed out it looks, and that's time of day. So we'll just switch the time of day, and look at how nice that looks. We do have some empty storefronts in there. We could place our own assets on here. So I wonder. Unfortunately, I can't just steal the logo off here. I could place that in the place of the empty store. Maybe I'll do that. We'll place it a Hallmark. It feels like the kind of asset that you might see here. Okay, and now I pulled those closer together because I want to leave a bit of space. We're going to run a road behind here as well. But there's the parking up front that I said I don't love. And what we're going to do is use Bob to get rid of that. So you can see that there are parking spaces here. We can just eliminate that. Okay, so the way that we're going to fix these is when you click on it, we'll take our probability for our parking spaces and we'll take it down to 0. And then we'll hit replace, and that will just eliminate those on these assets. So again, probability to nothing, click that, gone. Unfortunately, because these are all separate assets, we've got to do one by one, but it doesn't take all that long. There we go. Now, unfortunately, we still do have some vehicles parking here. I don't know that there's a good way for me to make that stop. I'm going to see if they do it again, and it doesn't look like they are. We're going to hope that that sticks. So the other thing I've noticed, oh, no, there he goes. there she goes, one of the two. Okay, well, I'm gonna need to do some research to fix that one. But I also want to align the heights here. That didn't do the trick. It's okay, we can modify that manually. Just to get rid of the lumpies and the bumpies in the parking lot. And then the last thing that we're gonna want to do, we'll take this to night again, because we're gonna need to fix our parking lot lights. So we went 3 in, made anarchy for this, put one right here, another one right here, and then I can tell with the light that I didn't get that flat, so now it's flat. We should be good. So we'll take this back to day, and the very last thing we need to do is add some sort of access road behind this, and then if we wanted to get really picky, we could go through Bob and actually change the loading areas for each of these buildings. So let's again take a look at our lights, see if there's anything we can do to make this easier to see. There we go. And first and foremost, let's extend this pavement out. There we go. Looking clean. And then last but not least, we'll click on these and make all of the changes that we need to get the loading to occur behind the building. Okay, there we go. Looking good. We'll have all of our loading occurring in the back, and we've got a little mall here. So I would expect that we would like to see some sort of landscaping here, and preferably not in the roads. But that is my thing, apparently. So we're gonna have a bit of landscaping on the side here, particularly to cover up some of these uglier sides. And that's about the best we're gonna get. We're gonna leave it clean here so that we don't impact our vision triangles. But this isn't a significant enough shopping center that it's gonna warrant, or it's gonna allow everyone to stay here 24/7. But it is significant enough that you could do some things here. You could grab a bite to eat, and a greeting card for your mom. So it's something. It's something. And now I think the parking is a bit more rational. If we really wanted to go all out, we could add something like an auto parts store over here too. That would probably improve this. Why don't we do that? We'll extend this over. Okay, so I've got those there. And there's not many controls in this town, but one of the things that we are going to do is make sure that our building fronts are flush. I think that that would be a thing here, even here. So we will do that, and I think that's going to be very helpful here. So this is RICO enabled, so we're good there. And actually, let me double check that. 15 workers, that's fine. This is okay. So now we have an O'Reilly's here. We should add a couple more trees to protect the neighborhood from this user. And then again, adjust our RICO settings. And I went over just a little bit on my painting, so we will fix that. Very good. Come over here, building spawn points. It's about as good as it gets. So maybe not the most beautiful use, but it is certainly one that makes sense here. So the other thing I want to know now is, do I have an O'Reilly sign? I do. we can make this Signville, USA, because honestly, that's probably what this would become, as unfortunate as that is. Let's see if I can potentially lower this in. We'll see. This might be a bit of a trick. There we go. I'm not sure that O'Reilly's would be thrilled to have their larger sign below Dollar General, but this is the Dollar General and O'Reilly's shopping center. Now it's a little note of economic activity in this area. So I'm very pleased with that. But you know, there's one thing that we haven't been able to do in the city since it was founded, and that is get some gas. So that's something that I would expect to see here quickly. And speaking of quick, there's one that I want to place. So I would say that if you're from Wisconsin or certain parts of the upper Midwest, Quick Trip is just something that is ubiquitous for you. In my area, it was one of the few places in the state that we didn't have Quick Trips, and they ended up buying a local gas station co-op, and overnight, basically, they flipped the switch and they became Quick Trips, and everyone was pretty happy about it because they're known for having excellent service, clean facilities, and they make there's some food there that everyone likes, particularly their cinnamon rolls. So anyway, I'm going to place that, but to get this to look right, I needed to pick up an asset that I think is really important for this build. So for me, I'm going to revert back to the old parking lot roads that I used in Bluffside Crossing. And the reason for that, and I'm going to go back and forth the rest of the build using the two, and probably this one the most. The reason for that is these just allow greater flexibility. So we'll check this out. So I'm going to, this isn't long enough, I'll extend this out, and that'll shrink up at some point, but for the time being, this will be our guide. This is going to be where Quick Trip goes, the pumps. And then we'll go back to our drive road. Send this back a few. And that is where Quick Trip will live. So you might be thinking this looks pretty ugly, and it does. But we have Node Controller, which can fix things. So right away I click on this, it looks a little bit better, but we can do even better. And I've experimented with this. If we hit bend, look what that does to it. Cleans everything up for us. So just experimenting around a bit with the different mods that we have available to us, and you can see that we have a lot of flexibility. But there's more that we can do. Quick Trips generally have parking that wraps around the building, so we are going to add that on. And this would be a really critical thing for them because they want it to be very convenient for anyone who is to come here. So we're going to add parking on the sides and in the back. So they have their employee parking in the back, customer parking on the sides, and then we are just looking for our Quick Trip at this point. So there was one Quick Trip model in the entire store, and I grabbed it. So I'm really excited that this was there. I was pretty sure that it wasn't going to be, but it is. And this is so easy to use with this particular mod, and that's the main reason I wanted it. Let me see if there's anything I can do to make this look a little bit better, because you can see that it's a little rough around the edges here. If I just pull this down, we get a sharper corner. Feels a bit more natural for a gas station. So that's looking good in my opinion. So a couple of things that we're going to want to do here. First of all, signage. We've got another user that wants a big sign, and they're going to want that right along the highway to demonstrate to everyone that there's a Quick Trip here. And then to show that they have the lowest legal prices for beer and for fuel right here. And now, with signage, you can't place it in the right-of-way. And the right-of-way would likely extend to right here, so you're going to need to back that up a bit. And we'll center it. We'll place that right about here. And then have another one over here to capture any traffic going up this road by the factory. So there we go. We've got 2 signs. Now we need to add some parking stalls. So I'm really excited about this mod that I have enabled. So this is parking lots, or parking snapper. So it's an excellent mod. When you click on it, you can see that it snaps these to the side. And then when you place one, all the rest snap to that location. So super cool mod. Very excited about it. It makes it very easy to create really clean looking parking lots. There we go. Just like that, we're done. So now I want to get these placed elsewhere in the lot. Generally, they do have some parking in the rear as well. Maybe folks that need to you know, I don't know, rest or something of that nature. Employees, passerby, whatever. So I did make a mistake, and I didn't place any EV parking. So that's another thing about Quick Trip. They are, I went to a seminar not too long ago. Okay, never mind. I'm old, so I'm getting old, so it's been a while at this point. But at that seminar, Quick Trip was excitedly talking about some of their future plans as they relate to EV parking. And for a gas station to excitedly talk about their plans to have EV parking and other sorts of alternative fuel amenities, I thought it was pretty neat. That's pretty unique. So you'll notice that I am unsnapping. And so there's a hotkey that is pre-configured, and that's Control X, and that allows you to release your previous snap. And you'll need to use that frequently because you'll see that I can't move this over here to place it in the back, but I hit Control X and it immediately releases. And now I can grab another asset and plop it right down. Now this one's too long, but that's okay because this one will snap perfectly. And then I can go along to the one that has one, and I'm fine there as well. Control X to release. And there I go. I have completely finished that now. So I'm noticing there's a bit of ugliness here, and I think this is probably my fault. So I'm going to try my best to clean it up. I don't know that there's a ton that I can do. That's not perfect, but I think it's a little better. The only way to make it more perfect is to destroy this angle down here. So we'll just accept a bit of imperfection. We won't let perfect be the enemy of good. We're going to be fine with it. So let's go ahead. We'll add some concrete here. And truthfully, now that I think about it, we can just fill this whole area in. And that would be something that I would think would be fairly common to see at a Quick Trip. So we'll fill that right in. And then this is, it's a bit wider than I would expect. This should probably hug the building a bit more. To rectify that a bit, we'll just back this out. And then I want to add in some trees. So I found that looking through all the assets, I've got some really great ones in here. So we're going to place a couple of mulch beds with some trees. And then often at Quick Trip, you will see outdoor seating. They do serve food. So sometimes you will see this. This is greatly oversized for this, but I think it's okay. But you'll notice this isn't operating. So the reason why it's not operating is we don't have water, or I'm showing you behind the scenes. I clearly experimented with this. We do have water. So sorry about that. You'll have to forgive seeing behind the curtain. We'll just cut through here with an easement. That'll be fine. There we go. So this is okay. That said, I know that Quick Trip is pretty good about adding in mulch and landscaping. So we're going to add some mulch. And we have these flowering bushes. We'll just place some of these along here just for a little bit of decorative flair. So Quick Trips are generally pretty large, particularly when they're off the interstate. They're not going to want anything here obstructing the views at all, no matter what. So even if the city said we need something, they're going to push back pretty hard at that. And understandably so. Their buildings are iconic. This is an older model. They are a bit nicer looking now, but they're iconic, and you can really see them anywhere here. They stand out. So, and this model is a bit washed out. It's unfortunate. It's a bit stretched, but it's Quick Trip, and it wouldn't feel like a Midwestern build to me without a Quick Trip. So there we go. But that's not the only one that we're doing. We're going to build another gas station over here and another one right here. So I think we're going to start with the downtown gas station. So get rid of some of these trees, and we're going to work this one into the area. So again, we're going to start out with our parking lot road. We'll extend that over and apparently leave anarchy on, so our trees pop right through. And for this one, I want to line this up with this road right here. Now, I'm not going to leave that road attached, but I do think that it's important that we at least maintain that angle. So this is a much smaller parcel, and that's going to factor into our decision making here. So let's eliminate this. Now, and we might actually, for this one, need to go ahead and use our other asset set. So let's go ahead and do that, because this isn't going to work in this particular area without it. So I'm going to come through here, and actually I meant to use a border. So we'll have our border, and then we're going to use a filler. We're going to need anarchy to get this to work, because we're going to need to use our creativity here to make this a functioning facility. So I'm going to go into Unified UI, and I'm going to delete some nodes that are not helping me. And now we are going to do some interesting things. So first of all, I'm going to convert this right here to a drive, so we get rid of that bit of wonkiness. And then we're going to move things around to create a paved lot that is 100% paved. Okay, so here's where we are using our creativity to make this happen. So I had to move this to make it work. So I want to create that guideline there again. And actually, we're going to take that back. We'll create that guideline just so that I can see it. And then we're going to move these back so that they line up approximately, more or less. Okay. There we go. We'll get rid of this road for the time being, and let's start working on our gas station. So for this one, I want to place a Citgo. So I don't know if you're familiar with Citgo, but it's something that, again, in small towns, we see here from time to time. And we're going to need to place these assets and move them manually. So we're going to grab this one, place this right here. We'll give a bit of separation between the road and the gas station, and then this is a canopy that extends over the gas station. So we'll just pull this over here, rotate to line it up, and then place that right there. Now you might be thinking, wow, this is really ugly. How could you ever be okay with that? I like this. So now we've got one thing to figure out. That is what's going on right here. And I can see just by pulling it away what's going on right here. And that is, this is a drive aisle. We need that not to be a drive aisle. So we have something wonky going on. So we're gonna redo that. That happens from time to time when you're really pushing the mods to the edge of what they were intended for. And we're definitely there. This was not the intention of the mod. At least I don't think it was. But it's okay because we're going to make it work. So I'm just going through here and squaring things up. And then tweaking things just so that the graphical corruptions go away. And things like this, I'm going to play with a bit too to just try to clean this up as best I can. Some of it will be pretty unavoidable. But just using node controller, you can clean it up a bit. Make it look a little bit better. And then sometimes you'll use node controller and it will mess things up. So it's just fidgeting around a bit to try to figure out where you can get things looking as best as they can. We can also do things like line up the corners, holding shift down and clicking this and seeing if that does it. But we're like I said, pushing the mods to their breaking point. So it's going to be difficult to make it work perfectly. So now you can see, with the exception of this weird little area right there, we're in a pretty good place. So what we don't have here is parking, and we could attempt to make it work by kind of cobbling together the two mods that we have. So I don't think that we've left the gas station enough space. So I am modifying things just a bit. Okay, so that's looking much better. Just gonna play a little bit more. I'm gonna let perfect be the enemy of good, and it's gonna break things. And this is why you just gotta stop at some point, because it's just not healthy for you, and it's not helpful. So there we go. That's good enough. So now we've got this nice little gas station, and we need some parking. So let's go ahead and add some parking. And you can see that these two mods are not playing nice together, which happens. So the other thing that we could do to try to accomplish this parking in this particular area would be to use big parking lots, but we would need to change this road. I might just leave it and say, yeah, it's not perfect, but this is one place where I could see it being fairly rational that people would park at the pump and just walk over here or park kind of irregularly. I'm going to give that some thought and see if there's anything I can do. But for the time being, I think this will be the solution that we go with. The other thing that we could do is do what we did with the quick trip. That would be another way of approaching it. I kind of wanted to demonstrate, though, a couple of different ways to approach this. So this is another way. That said, we still need the rest of the Citgo amenities. So there's no way they're getting a tall sign like they had, like the quick trip had. What they can get, though, is some signage announcing their prices on their property, and we can jazz it up with a bit of landscaping. So let's go ahead and do that right now as well. So once again, we're going to mulch. We will add in some trees, and then I'm going to add in a row of mulch, and we're just going to take this down, go over a bit, and then we'll go right back up. This is basically the ideal use case for prop line tool. And then we can do some similar things over here. And then we'll use move it to line these objects up and get those really spaced nicely. So we're just going to use a regular street tree here. Smaller trees. And those will look nice. And then again, we'll use our flowering bush we used at Quick Trip. We'll mix that up a bit with some other flowering bushes in between. And this would be a requirement. They'd need to have a certain number of landscape points. I don't know that in this particular city they would have that requirement because of the size of the city. But we're going to say that they're starting to recognize that their city is important. And you want to take... This is your city. You should make sure that it represents what you want. And if that is a cleanly landscaped environment that's inviting, then start to require that. If they're unwilling to do that, they're probably not worth having in your community. There we go. Now it's looking good. In terms of a gas station, that's all right. The one thing we also want to see would be some sort of path connection. So I think that we don't really have a good concrete path, but I do have this decorative paver. So we'll go with this. And then the other thing, so this building, the rear of it is facing the sidewalk. Now that's a no-no. We'd want to see some sort of glazing on there. Now this building would probably push back and say, listen, this is where all of our mechanicals are. You can see it on the rooftop. This is where our storage is. We can't have any windows back there. That doesn't make any sense. How dare you, city, or village, try to impose that on us? So ultimately we end up saying, all right, well, we need to see some landscaping back there. So we get some sort of planter box and we add these back here, and we're not happy about it, but I'll tell you what, it's a lot better than having a blank wall facing in the wrong direction. So there we go, and everyone's loading into the rear of this building. I have no idea why. Oh, there is a reason why. So the building spawn point is back there. So let's move that here. We'll rotate this around, and now hopefully people will take a more rational path to get in here. No one's using the gas station, which I think is unfortunate. I'm curious about that. Wondering. Okay, there are people driving here. We're just not seeing them, or I'm not seeing them. There are 5 people that have visited private vehicles going straight through. The canopy, it says that we have people using that too. I'm hoping that the shenanigans I pulled here haven't completely destroyed it. So we'll need to keep an eye on that because it might have. I kind of want to frame this edge too to create some sort of wall. My other sneaking suspicion would be that the city might seek some type of fencing along here to create some sort of street edge. So why don't we go with this right here? It's a nice fence. We'll need to clean this up after the fact, but this will create a bit of a street edge, at least as best as we can here. So now I'm going to move some of these in to themselves. I'm just holding down shift as I move these, and there we go. And over here we'll do the exact same thing. So there we go. It's by no means perfect, but this to me is a lot better than it could be. You have to pardon my kind of quick and dirty attempt at this, but I do think that it if you're gonna have a gas station and it's gonna be this prominent, this is probably as good as you're gonna get, particularly if you're in desperate need of a gas station like this community is. So next I want to focus a little bit on a motel. I mentioned another gas station. I don't know that we're gonna have time for that, but we will certainly have time to get a motel here. So I've got a couple of different assets here. So I have a Comfort Inn, which, you know, is very large, and then I also have a Holiday Inn, also very large. They're about the same, and I would expect to see these in close proximity to one another. So Holiday Inn feels to me maybe a little bit more upscale than we would expect to see here right now. Comfort Inn, on the other hand, I stayed in one not too long ago. It was fine. That's how I'll describe it. It was fine. But in a community of this size, it would actually provide a really valuable recreational opportunity. So having grown up in a small town, I know that one of the things that people do there for a little bit of exercise, entertainment, is they will go to a place like the Comfort Inn and they'll go swim in the swimming pool. So this is important not just for passerbys, but also for the residents of this community. They're going to go in there. There's an indoor pool. They're going to want to check that out. So it is a really important thing for communities of this size. So again, we're going to use our parking lot roads. We will start with our service drive. We're going to pull this down a little ways. Bring it up. And then we'll have our parking lot. And I don't think that's enough. I think we got to go at least 3. So let's go up at least 3. And the road guidelines are not helpful right now, so I'm going to turn those off. Now there's 3 different road sizes, and those will correlate to exactly how long everything's going to be for us. So I placed this, and now we're going to use eminent domain on this, and watch the budget, it'll go down. So that's unfortunate for us, but it's okay. It's part of what we're doing. And finding out that it doesn't matter because this doesn't snap, oh, that's painful. So we'll place this here. And then we need our second service road into this building. And then we're going to send that service road back and use an asymmetric road behind this so that we have a bit of parking in the back. So this road is not part of the actual normal pack. You have to download it separately, but it's so valuable that I had to pick it up. So again, holding control to pull this out. I want it to look approximately the same. And now I'm going to use Move It to try to pull this canopy over and get the building as close as I can without it overlapping too much. That's pretty darn good. That's pretty good. So I'm pleased with this. What we need to do now is get our parking spaces in. So the snapping here, it did reset, thankfully. It doesn't always. So we'll go through here, just start plopping these down. And the fun thing about this is it actually does conform in the center as well. So I'm realizing I didn't leave any accessible parking. So we're going to want to make sure that we have some. And I'm going to need to unsnap this, get that popped again, add a couple rows of accessible parking, and then once again, just keep rolling with our parking lot roads. Look at how easy this is to do. This is just so far beyond what was possible in the past. It's one of the reasons why this game continues to impress me and wow me all these years after it was released. So I'm wondering if there's anything that we can do to fix this up. You can see using node controller and it immediately squares it up and it looks better. I wish that this curb wasn't here. So I'm wondering if I go ahead and pull this road from the back, the asymmetric, yep, that doesn't help. So we did it at Quick Trip, but I think it's probably going to be difficult here because of what we're doing with these roads. We have 2 entry points. So we'll pull this here and we're not going to worry about it that much. So now we need to get our parking in the back of this building. So again, Control X, unsnap it. Now it just conforms to this. So easy. So easy. Oh, that's so nice. All right. So we've got that. Now I want to look at the sides of this building because I believe that there are going to be some doors here. Yep, we've got a door. So let's add some path connections in. And these are the sorts of things that when you're reviewing a building like this, you're making sure that there are these connections and that where there are these connections, there are paths to get in. It sounds like such a minor thing, but you'd be surprised how many times little things like that get missed on a plan. There you go. Perfect. So now we've got this. There are already people visiting. So I didn't put a bank of parking along the front. That's going to be a drive aisle. So you'd come through here. You could drop off your loved one and some luggage. We could add some parking on the sides. I don't think it's worth it. Mainly because it would be very difficult to mark this. And I don't know that I do a very good job. Or that the asset could really handle it. So we're already kind of going above and beyond. Truthfully, we probably shouldn't overlap this like this. Maybe we should have just allowed this to exist as it, kind of hanging over. But it's okay. I'm fine with it. To me, this looks the way that this should look. So we're gonna go with it. Okay, mulch. We're gonna have a couple of mulch piles over here. You can see that it's a bit wider over here than on the other side. I'm gonna pull this down just a bit. And I'm really playing with fire at this point. I think we're okay. I think that we're okay. And I've given that a bit more breathing room. So now we can landscape. So we're gonna pop in here and let's see what we have available to us. We'll go with a medium-sized tree, leafy full. That's probably too big. A bushy, too big. Twin trunk, that we can do. It's about as big as we want to get. Now, honestly, that full is probably even better. So we'll mix it up. We'll have both of these over here. And then they would likely want some sort of decoration here. So we will add in some decorative bushes or clusters of bushes up front. Let's add our mulch first. We'll add a couple of bushes over here, and then we'll add our mulch up front and our signage. And now I'm going to mulch right up front and add some landscaping here. I think we're also going to upgrade this road. Why don't we do that first? Now it's this weird country road that connects up with what will essentially be an urban street. So it's the urbanization of this as we go along, which makes perfect sense that would happen. So we're gonna go with the small mulch decal, and we'll again use the tools available to us. And honestly, that's not wide enough. So we'll just go ahead. We'll just keep working until it makes sense. So now we've got our mulch. We go with one more row. We have these clusters of bushes. I thought they might look nice. They look pretty terrible. So we're going to avoid doing the clusters. Maybe the low poly. Oh, those are tropical. So we're not going to do that. That is huge. And this is why you just sometimes need to take the time to place things yourself. There we go. This gives it a bit of screening and some privacy. And then they're going to obviously want their signs. So let's go ahead and add in their signage. So they've got a couple of signs. They've got this one right here. This would be the one that you would expect to see probably at both ends. They would lobby for both. And I don't know that the city's going to really, the village rather, is going to fight them on this. Particularly because they're taking the time to do a good job with their landscaping. And then the one that's more controversial is this interchange sign. And this is absolutely critical in their mind. You can't really see it. So let's say you're over here, you see a little sign, but then you have this. Let's say you're driving down the road. You're going to see this. So we'll place that right here. And then they're also going to want some landscaping to prevent the view from these residents being just a bunch of traffic. As cool as the DDI is. So it's very cool, but that's not an attractive view. So they are likely seeking significant amounts of landscaping back here. And they're probably wanting to remove some of this. Now, I don't know. My guess is they'd buy this and this whole parcel would be theirs, and at a later date, they would subdivide it themselves and restrict the uses that are allowable right here. So they would say, you can't be a hotel, you can't be an adult use, like other sorts of things that they might deem to be inappropriate next to their establishment. So that happens routinely. So that'll be in the covenants that you'll see them really restricting the kinds of uses next to their site. But for the time being, they've got a nice motel, and it's one of the few in the city. The only other one is the luxury hotel that we have in Ashland. And there's not enough water here. We didn't place water pipes underneath our roads, so that makes sense. That should serve it. And while we're here, the city's gonna the village is gonna make its own connection there. And let's just see how this is working. We actually have a pretty good situation with our workers. So we're doing well there. And the very last thing that we're going to do, and the reason why we're not going to build another gas station, is we never built a parking facility for this big furniture factory. So we're going to do that right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade this road here, wrap this around, and then right behind here, we're going to add a parking lot. So let's go back in. We're going to use, again, our parking lot roads. And I'm not 100% sure how big I want this to be yet. I would assume that this would be a sizable field. So we're going to go ahead. We'll start out with a sizable field. Now that's too low. So I need to give a bit more space. And I'm just going to extend these all the way down. Part of this is just wanting to know how that would look. And we can see that it doesn't fit. So let's take that back. We'll use the next size over. I am going to pull this closer to that other parking lot. There we go. And you'll notice that these are different sizes. If I use node controller, I can square those up, and now they're approximately the same. So that's beneficial for us. And then I'm going to pull this to be closer to that road. And the same thing here. There we go. Now we have a nice, clean facility. And this should be fairly easy to get our parking in. So we'll start out with some accessible parking, and we're going to put that as close as we can to the main area. And we're going to have a lot of it. And then we have to unlock to add this over here again, but it snaps, so it's very easy to figure out. And there we go. So I did scoot these over a bit so that they line up more or less right there. And that's looking really good. I do just want to hit this with the square because it looks like it might be just a little bit off. It's not enough that I'm going to get overly concerned about it, but it is just a little bit off. There's not a lot that we can do. So this mod certainly gives you more flexibility, but with flexibility comes issues. So we are going to add a couple of things in here. I mentioned earlier that the village is taking a bit more pride in what it does. So one of the things it's going to require, we're going to line this up with this line, and we're going to have a tree box. So these are very significant trees, but we're going to put them in there and give a bit more definition to this parking facility. And we're going to get the grass outside of this road. I think we're looking really good now. I think that the city or the village is moving in a good direction, especially with that tree where it's supposed to go. So there are more things that we want to do here, a ton more. I do want to give it a once over though to make sure that I didn't miss anything in terms of power and water. You can see that right here, we do not have power. So that is a concern. So let's run power up here, and we'll make sure Sitco has it. So does Quick Trip, and so does the new mall. Even the signs have power. So we should be in a good spot. Things are moving in a direction that is positive for this community, and I am pleased with where we are going. That said, I do want to just quickly look in here, and it's a city tour. Okay, and look at that view that you would have from your hotel room, assuming that the trees didn't block the view. You'd have this beautiful bluff mountain type view in the background. Just outstanding. The city is moving, it's expanding, and things are going to be changing soon, although we've got some more filling in to do before we see those changes take place. In the next one, I am going to go over some of those, the definitions of cities, villages, and towns, the differences between those. But in this episode, I just wanted to focus on building out a couple of these things. Hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button. If you aren't subscribed, please consider doing so. And if you want to be notified when I release new videos, hit that notification icon. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.